Our gut makes hormones. These hormones are called GLP-1, GIP, depending on which one I'm prescribing. These hormones act on the brain. They act on different parts of your body to make you feel full after you start eating. They also slow down the movement of food in your belly so that your digestion is slowed and you feel full faster. When people have type 2 diabetes and obesity or excess weight, these hormones don't work as well. You also don't make enough of these hormones. We've been using these medication, as you said, since the early 2000s, and now we're at 2024. So they've had over 2 decades to really clean up the formulation and also make the medication last longer in your system. And that's what the newer medications are doing, is they're the same hormone, they're just made to last longer in your system. And when you combine it with GIP, which is what the Manjaro and Zepbound are, also some of the side effects are not as severe, like the nausea. And then in terms of Ozempic, semaglutide with Wegovy, you can still have the side effects, but they're not as severe as the first generation. And that's why as we titrate pretty slowly, and at least in my practice, I don't go to the full dose unless we really need to. So I'm meeting up with the patient and seeing how they're responding to the medication. And if they're still losing weight on the lowest dose, I don't increase their dose, because sometimes what happens is if we get too aggressive with just going up every month, like the label says, they might start having side effects at that medium or top dose, and then they're not going to want to take it. So then we've lost that ability, that tool in our armamentarium for that patient. And as this is a great tool, because not only is it helping achieve weight loss and improving glycemic control, but it's improving cardiovascular outcomes and kidney function as well, which are 2 of the major common diseases or common problems that we see in long-term diabetes. I don't like the term diet. It's more about let's have a healthy lifestyle moving forward. How do we eat more healthily? We have to start eating more fruits, vegetables, natural foods, and less of the processed stuff. In terms of your drinks, there's really no reason for you to be drinking soda if you have type 2 diabetes. You'd be surprised how many people actually don't know that. We don't have to make these radical changes. We might just need to do small changes. Insulin resistance is something that is so prevalent these days just because of our type of westernized diet. So if we were to make just small changes like that in combination with the medication when we need it, then I think we will be a lot healthier. And hopefully very soon we will start to see generic versions of the medications in the next decade. I think that these medications are popular for a reason. People are benefiting from them. And I don't think they're going to go away. I think they're just going to get better and hopefully more accessible. We live in a society where we have just been conditioned to have these big portions meals and eat food that is no longer as pure as it was 50 years ago. Even the condiments have high fructose syrups and all these chemicals. A lot of us are living in a constant state of inflammation from that, and weight gain is an effect from that too. So if that isn't changing, then the epidemic of obesity and type 2 diabetes is not going to change either. I think that as we increase awareness on healthier eating patterns, hopefully there won't be as much of a need for these types of medications, and also lobbying for companies and the food industry to use cleaner products, use healthier ingredients so that we don't have things like childhood obesity, which wasn't really an issue 50 years ago and it is now. So now these kids are set up to have type 2 diabetes in their 20s. So they're going to need these types of medications, right? And there's also the epidemic of fatty liver disease. We have even children with fatty liver disease now. So a lot of it is genetics. They're predisposed to getting it, but in the background of these environmental triggers, right? So if these environmental triggers are not changing, then we're going to need to do something about it. The medications have also been shown to improve fatty liver disease. I don't think these medications are going anywhere. I think they're just going to become more widespread. And what the insurance companies are going to see, and they're already realizing, I'm sure, is that it's probably cheaper to put people on these medications than pay for long-term complications, cardiovascular events, liver transplants, and bariatric surgery. We start kids on a clean slate, then the future generations will have to deal with this as we are. And I think that there's more widespread information about that. At least that's why I'm on social media now, is to try to put this type of information out there, because I'm just surprised at what my patients will tell me about what they're thinking is a healthy diet, because there's just so much misinformation out there. Small changes we can make to try to bring things back. But while we have the medication that we know can help ameliorate a lot of these issues, we should use it. I have a lot of patients that I have been able to put on these newer medications and wean them completely off of their that they were taking for years. And as people get older, as they're at higher risk for hypoglycemia. So if we can get them off of medications that cause hypoglycemia and instead put them on diabetes medications that improve cardiovascular and kidney outcomes, why aren't we doing that? We shouldn't need to send people to an endocrinologist to do it. I think that needs to start to become more standard of care across practices. Find a way to be physically active and find a way that is going to be sustainable for you to maintain. I could talk about my guilty pleasure of hot Cheetos, which I was addicted to them. It was insane. And one day I just sat down and looked at all the ingredients and I'm just like, oh my God, why am I putting this stuff in my body? But then I kept doing it because those receptors in your brain, they'd hit those dopamine receptors and you crave it. And so I completely eliminated them. And now that I've been off for about a year, I don't crave it anymore. You got to rewire your thinking and find that one thing, right? Because I think we all have that one guilty pleasure. And sometimes it doesn't have to be elimination. It could just be a reduction. In my case, it had to be elimination because I know myself.